after looking at the tapes and talking to your coaches, just your overall review of the scrimmage yesterday?
Yeah, I think, we talked to the team about this, a little bit ago in the team meeting. I had really three main takeaways, Calvin, when you look at it, I thought, we carried our pads a little high. That's normal, We just got a little bit high on some things, so we got moved off the ball at times, got knocked back in the run game on offense some. The big thing you're teaching about there is you want to get your eyes underneath the chin. And there was some good, but that's one thing that jumped out. Hey, set our pads, play a little bit lower. That's one. Second thing would be kind of all about the ball. We did not get any takeaways on defense. That's something that this defense is going to thrive on. I really believe that. And then we had one interception on offense and really three other interception ops. And so that's not the standard that we're trying to do. And at the end of the day, what I kind of summed it up with, the third thing was like, it's just about the details. It's the details of, okay, going against a different team, a unit we haven't seen, it doesn't change anything. We have rules, and our rules are our rules, and we do those things, but then you got to carry over the technique. So great learning experience. I'm excited about the work we got. It was great clips, and there was a lot of good as well. But those were the three main things that I kind of took away from it. Carry our pads a little bit better, all about the ball, and then just overall attention to details.
How's Milton feeling today? Do you think he will be able to practice tomorrow?
Yeah, he's doing fine. He should be no problem. He was throwing the ball around out of our talk-through out there. Oh, my goodness, where'd he go? Pour some out for him. Should we pour a little something out for him?
Pour a lot out for him.
Yeah, we just we'll just pour a little. Yeah, he had a long night. I got to know where he's going, man. I haven't found a good spot to go to yet. Uh-oh, someone said something. Hey, write that down.
Todd Archer, of the ESPN. You mentioned carrying the pads a little high. Does that make you adjust your plan of, hey, get the guys more in pads? I don't know what the rules, if that allows it or not.
No, again, Todd, I don't read too much into it. Again, it's the first time doing it. It's part of the process. We will be in pads tomorrow. But no, it doesn't, again, I'm not overly concerned by it. It's just a reminder. You're going, for example, JT caught a ball off a little check down, and he was kind of running, and it was thud. And so the Rams guy came, and JT was kind of relaxed a little bit, and he got thudded, and he went flying. And so it's more of that. I'm not concerned. It won't change what we're doing. When we work in pads, it's usually very physical, but I think it's more just first time. They're amped up. They're excited about competing against somebody else, and easy correction.
Out here years ago, Parcells, they'd have meetings every night basically about the 53, and then Mike told us he would never have meetings about the 53. What's your view on that too? How often are you guys talking about the 53?
Well, number one, as a staff, we talk about it every day. And you can't do the compete every day mantra and not do that, because if you're not talking about it every day, how do you move guys from third team to second team to first team, all that stuff. So we talk about it every day, and usually I talk with ownership and Will McClay every day about it. To get into big settings and have big, long conversations, we'll do that today. We'll, just because coming off the scrimmage yesterday, getting ready for this game. But I would say it's an ongoing process, that we do, every day, but it doesn't have to be everybody sitting in a room. So my point is, bless you. The point is, there's different ways to do it, Todd, and we kind of do it more individually, me, one-on-one with other people, Will, Steve and Jerry, whatever it is, and then, we'll have a bigger one today. And then usually after most preseason games, you have a sit-down where you just evaluate the game and how it went, and, hey, we did this well, we need to improve this, and these are some of the main takeaways.
John Machota with The Athletic. When you watched yesterday's practice over again, how did you grade Brian Schottenheimer as play caller?
Oh, good question. I'll give myself a C, maybe a C minus. Just we didn't have as much success, but I also had a lot of bullets I didn't use. I actually screwed myself up. I got pissed, so I called the bomb. I called the bomb. I wasn't supposed to call the bomb. The coaches were like, "Really? I thought we were leaving that out." I was like, "Yeah, I kind of got pissed off," and so we do have those plays. Just so you guys know, we have those plays. But literally, I did that, and I was like, "Man, that felt really good." But shit, now they know we have that play. So, yeah, I was like the squad, just okay.
And then two young offensive linemen, particularly Tyler Booker and Nate Thomas. What were your thoughts on that?
I thought, again, both guys did a really good job. I'll start with Nate. I mean, he had the tough matchup, against Verse, and Again, we showed a clip this morning of him doing a really great job. He kind of jumps, he jump set him and got his hands on him. He's so big and long, and he's a strong man. But I thought he did a really nice job. And I see Book making steps every day to get better. The power is there for sure. The big thing with him that he's working on is sometimes when he's setting out on a wide 3 technique, he gets into good position relative to position to the defensive tackle, but he keeps moving. And so we just got to get him to be a little stronger with his inside foot. But I would say both guys had, number one, great work, terrific amount of reps, but I thought they both did a nice job.
Tommy Yarsh, DallasCowboys.com. When you look back at some of the things that you were doing in the run game, schematically up front, do you feel like the blocking was there, and do you feel like the running backs were doing their part, or are you feeling like there's maybe some more steps you can take?
No, it wasn't a great day for us running the football, Tommy. It wasn't. I think I talked a little bit yesterday about, we didn't play with great eyes. What do I mean by that? Like, this is a disguised defense. So all of a sudden I'm in a combination block, and Tad and I are working, up to Patrick. And again, all of a sudden during the cadence, Patrick moves inside. Well, that changes my technique. It doesn't change my rule. But if Patrick's there, I can be much thicker on the inside portion of a double team. When he slides inside, then I got to be thinner because I got to get that guy accounted for. And so we had, too many unaccounted for hats in the hole for the backs to deal with. And that's, again, eye discipline. A couple times we were bringing, receivers across to handle issues off the edge, and we were a little bit wide on our splits with the receivers. It was really all of us. I mean, it was just, it wasn't design. It wasn't just the players. It was a little bit of, hey, first scrimmage and, but again, got to cover people up in the run game to give your backs a chance. And quite honestly, the backs a few times, they were off their landmark and they weren't pressing things enough, so we were getting movement, and then the back will come back early. Well, guess what? If I'm combination up to Babe and the back cuts back and we're on this angle and Babe falls back because of the back, that's why it's such a symphony. I mean, everything's got to be tied together, and it wasn't tied very well together yesterday. So something to improve on.
Joe Hoyt, Dallas Morning News. Obviously, Deron Bland's versatility is an asset for you guys, but also you're trying to find who the best 11 guys are out on the field when you can. How do you balance kind of that multiplicity that you talk about while also trying to find the best 11 guys in that combination?
I think the thing we don't worry about with Deron is he's got the ability to play both. We'd like to figure out the nickel. Hey, what are we going to do? Can it be Deron? Is it going to be Deron? What do we want to do with that? That's something that just as you go through the film, he's got the ability to do it, but he's also an outstanding outside corner. And so I think we're looking for different rotations and different things. And, that was one of the things that came out of the film yesterday, right? Like, we gave up too many explosives. And I sat up here a couple of days ago talking about that with, one of the things Matt Eberflus's defense doesn't do and the Cowboys defense won't do is give up big plays. And we gave up too many big plays. I think it was like 7 or 8 explosives. And Devontae Adams is still pretty good. Puka Nacua is still pretty good. They should keep those guys. Definitely things for us, that we're trying, looking and seeing different things. But again, don't read too much into it, guys. We literally played 2 coverages. We literally kept all of our clubs in the bag. It was like we were out there playing with a 7-iron. I hate to tell you guys, but I'm going to be honest. Like, we're going to be playing with a 7-iron most of the preseason. So unless I get pissed. If I get pissed, the ball's probably going down the field if I get pissed.
Were they playing with a 7-iron, you think?
No, they were not. But again, they don't need to. Sean's been here, 7, 8 years? People know who Sean is. They don't know who we are. They don't know what our defense is going to look like. They were gaming us and doing things, which is great. We need those things, but no, because there's nothing to protect for them. They got plenty of footage of Sean calling plays and, Shula calling plays and things like that. But we're going to play a little closer to the vest because in year 1 you can do that. And why wouldn't you?
Dallas Cowboys TV, kind of speaking on that, what's the importance or lack thereof of balancing confidence level against an opponent like that, but also trying to keep some of your stuff in the bag from the regular season?
Well, I think we should be able to execute whatever we call. We're a good team. We're talented. We got good coaches. Again, it's not like, they dominated the scrimmage. It was a scrimmage, and we had good plays. We had bad plays. I think Turp had 2 touchdowns, a deep crosser that we hit him on one. And, obviously, there was some big plays. We hit CD open a couple times. George made some good plays. And, so it wasn't that. It was more of like, okay, when you watch the film, it's just like, okay, we're in the process of still improving, and we're in the process of teaching these guys, okay, why do details matter? Why does pad level matter? Why do we have to create, takeaways? And then, like when you look at the run game, our linebackers, man, they played downhill. They really did. They played downhill and did a nice job punching the ball. The ball never came out. But here's the other thing, you're not tackling. So is it a 4-yard run? Is it a 3-yard run? Is it a 8-yard run? I don't know. You don't know unless you're really tackling. And that's the thing when you look at scrimmage, you're just kind of like, okay, let's take it with a grain of salt and just evaluate the people. That's what we're doing right now. We are evaluating our players so that when we have to make some really, really difficult decisions, it wasn't about scheme. It was about can they do their job against the guy that they're matched up against. And my belief with that, and I will always believe this, is when it's simple, they should be able to play free, they should be able to play fast, and they should be able to do their job at a high level. And if they're not, then that makes the discussions for us a little bit longer in terms of who we keep and who we don't.
Nick Harris, Forward Star Telegram. Looking back at the joint practice, how much more can you get out of a session like that versus a normal practice out here, and how did you like the overall effect of it?
I thought it was great. I thought the competition was great. I loved watching the special teams video last night with Nick. We got some great work in our punt protection. They were running some great twists. Our gunners, and Vice, they had some great battles. There was a great one I showed to the team this morning. It was Crop and Rochelle going after they were the Vice, and they just, it was awesome. They just stoned him, and they worked together, and it was really, really, really cool. But in general, it's kind of what we thought. We got a lot of plays. We had some call-it periods. We had some, scripted periods. We had a 2-minute. I thought the offense responded really well with the 2-minute drive late. Like, that was just really, really good. We went right down the field, and, that shows our capability. I talk to the guys all the time. Nick, I say, you can't win games in the first quarter. You don't. You can't win them in the second. You don't win them in the third. When do you win them? You win them in the fourth quarter. And so I think that kind of proves the point of what I was trying to make. Yeah, we didn't have a great scrimmage per se, often back and forth offensively, boom. But then when the game was on the line, it's 23-21. We need to put a drive together in 2 minutes. We went right down the field. And so to me, again, there's so many great things to take away. And I told the guys this morning, I said, hey, guys, I'm excited. You're going to watch this film, and you're going to see we can get so much better. But you got to love the process. You got to love the grind. You don't wake up in training camp on whatever today is, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever the day is, and you're like, hey, we're Super Bowl champs. It doesn't work like that. You have good days, you have bad days, you have so-so days, you have days you're a little sore and you don't feel like practicing, but you have to keep doing it.
Anything yesterday kind of lead towards your decision on starters in the preseason, or is that still a work in progress?
Yeah, it's still a work in progress. Again, we'll there'll be a handful of guys that don't play, but I would say there'll be some guys that play throughout the preseason. Don't just look at it with just the Rams. We have a number of snaps we're trying to get for certain guys throughout the entire preseason. So I wouldn't read into it, who's playing against the Rams, who's playing against, Baltimore, Atlanta. There's more of a number. Okay, in these 2 or 3 games, how many snaps do we want for this guy? And those numbers can change. That's why, again, when we look at it, I'll share it maybe later in the week, but for the most part, those numbers are very flexible.
Garrett Podell, CBS Sports. Brian, you talked about game planning and keeping it basic with your 7-iron. How different is game planning entering a preseason game, keeping it 7-iron versus regular season and doing all that?
It's obviously extremely different because, you look at your call sheet and you're like, okay, well, we're not showing this. It's amazing. If you're looking at 50 passes, you're going, okay, well, we'll show those 12. And you're like, there's 38 of them. Like, we're not showing these 38 plays. And you're like, no, we show them every day in practice. So we don't need to show them to the world. Vic Fangio probably has people out here with cameras watching our practice right now. Like, that's part of the deal. Yeah, to me, it's very different. Like, we knew we were getting 3-4 work. We needed 3-4 work. We wanted it. I think the Rams are one of the best duo running teams in the league. Their toss crack games are great. So there's things we can learn. The big run that they hit, they got the edge on us. We didn't do a great job popping the crack block, which is the first block, and then we went underneath a couple blocks, and that's a recipe for disaster in the run game. But for the most parts, like I said, the linebackers are playing downhill, and we're not tackling. So, but it's very, very different. It's much quicker when you're not showing your stuff.
Coach Michelle Montaigne, WFAA, kind of just touched on it, but after watching the film yesterday, and I guess really just evaluating practice up to this point, what do you feel you highlighted the linebackers, but what do you feel like is the biggest point of emphasis for what you need to improve upon when it comes to stopping them?
I think main thing would be just the overall pad level. You know, the overall pad level, the fits. Flus says it all the time. When you guys get a chance to talk to him, he'll say it again, no house guest. You know, when you're playing a team like really us and like the Rams, when you're in cut splits and you're cracking safeties, the corners have a huge piece of the run fit. Because when the receiver goes to block the safety who's down tight, the corner's got to close the distance. And we did a really good job of that yesterday. There's some fundamental things we need to clean up with keeping your outside foot up and playing with great extension and things like that. But again, we're not tackling. So it's like, oh, did Kyer make that play? Yeah, he probably did. But, you know, we're not tackling guys to the ground. But just the symphony is the best word I can think of right now on little sleep of the run game stuff, you know. Both running the football, blocking scheme-wise, and then fitting the runs and all that stuff. It takes a lot of orchestration and time, and different than when you throw a ball up to an elite receiver on either side. They make a play. Not that doesn't take timing. It does, but sometimes dudes just are dudes.
Sorry, guys, just out of time.
Thanks, guys.